so much. My next question will be for Mr. Debola Badejo. You're welcome, Mr. Badejo.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. We've seen more mergers and acquisitions in the banking sector. Why do you think mergers and acquisitions are not embraced in other sectors? Are there market opportunities that makes mergers and acquisitions essential?
Thank you for your question, Kehinde. You've raised two good points, and I will attempt to address your question in two parts. Reviewing the data for M&A transactions over the last 2 decades, I do think M&A is embraced across all sectors of the Nigerian economy, and not just primarily in the banking sector. Out of the 300 plus publicly disclosed M&A deals, I believe less than 50% were actually banking sector related. It just happens that bank M&A deals, as has been mentioned, being that they were regulatory driven, have largely been more publicized than perhaps several deals that were happening in different sectors. But banking aside, I mean, as has been mentioned, you will see M&A activity across multiple sectors, FMCG, some deals have already been mentioned. I think Nigerian breweries back in the day also was very active in consolidating small and medium-sized breweries, such as Consolidated Breweries, Sona Breweries, Dell, Maltex. There was also a lot of M&A activity in the oil and gas sector, and has been mentioned telecommunications as well. And the list goes on. In summary, I will say M&A is pursued by small and large corporates across all sectors in Nigeria. Now, for the second part of your question, if there are market opportunities that make M&A essential, I think it is important to step back and understand why companies pursue M&A in the first place. M&A as an aspect of strategic management can allow enterprises to grow or downsize and change the nature of their business or competitive position. In other words, M&A can be used as both defensive and offensive strategies as companies strive to safeguard existing market position, minimize risk, accelerate recovery, and pursue growth in order to position themselves to gain market leadership. So in today's market context, as companies strive to move past the recovery phase of the pandemic and conceive plans for thriving in a changed economic landscape, M&A is poised to play a central role. And I see this taking two forms. Defensive M&A, characterized by companies propelled into survival mode, having sustained deep wounds during the pandemic, may use M&A strategies in self-defense, such as portfolio optimization, divestment of non-core assets, disposal of underperforming businesses, and exploration of co-investment opportunities and alliances with competitors. The second form would be offensive M&A, characterized by companies that have demonstrated resilience throughout the pandemic, will pursue acquisitions that enable them to lay the groundwork for capturing unassailable market leadership. These types of deals will include pursuit of vertical integration or backward integration to secure raw material inputs, acquisition of distressed and or underperforming peers, acquisition of technology and or people capabilities to accelerate digital transformation, etc. So in summary, unique times create unique opportunities, and the current environment is ripe with opportunities for players in all sectors to leverage M&A as a key strategic tool for recovery and growth.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Quite enlightening. Defensive and defensive strategies. I like that a lot. Mr. Badejo, I'll call on you to give us a local perspective. Would like to know the challenges associated with mergers and acquisitions, and what are the things that investors need to look out for when considering M&A?
Thank you for that question. I think from, with regards to M&A, mergers and acquisitions, I mean, it's multiple challenges. I think there's a popular notion that 40% of all M&A deals result in value destruction, especially when especially for the acquirer. So M&A is fraught with challenges. At the outset, I believe M&A deals fail. So if we just sort of start from basics, I believe M&A deals fail or face challenges when companies do not have a clear rationale for the transaction. So the prudent investor, business owner, or executive seeking consolidation options must have a clear thesis for whatever potential transaction being pursued. It shouldn't always just be reactionary. I think there's room to ensure that your strategy as a business is clear, and then that allows you to ensure that you select M&A targets more clearly. So another challenge in ensuring that you are merging, another challenge is to ensure that you are merging or consolidating with the right partner with aligned values. I think this is very crucial. Now, it's often very difficult to fully evaluate this fully upfront, but I think potential partners need to spend time carefully assessing each other's business values and culture to ensure alignment ahead of the merger. Another challenge that potentially faced was the risk of overpaying. It's very important not to overpay as a buyer or overinflate valuations as the target. Overpaying is probably the quickest way to destroy value in M&A. As Ajoke also mentioned, the regulatory environment locally also presents its sets of challenges for mergers and acquisition. Consolidation in some instances could be viewed as anti-competitive. So multiple regulatory hurdles need to be crossed to obtain approvals. And M&A tends to also lead to tax liabilities and issues that need to be carefully understood before finalizing the deal. So I think to minimize the effects of these challenges that one could face both locally and actually globally as well, I recommend three important steps. One is to ensure that adequate and detailed due diligence is carried out to identify these challenges up front. Prospective partners must conduct extensive due diligence and obtain a detailed understanding of each other's commercial, financial, legal, tax, and governance positions before closing the deal. This may result in further valuation adjustments or the request for warranties and indemnities. I also think, two, adequate time must be spent to prepare and plan for integration. Successful integration is crucial to overcoming M&A challenges. The integration process is what makes or breaks a deal. And all identified revenues and cost synergies, as Mr. Badejo had mentioned, live and die during integration. So ensuring that a clear and detailed integration plan is prepared with adequate support across the organization. And I think finally, it's to ensure you spend time drafting robust shareholders agreements that covers as many potential scenarios as possible. The shareholders agreements must be clear in laying out the processes that govern the company and what steps need to be taken in certain scenarios. Companies tend to get excited when finalizing deals and only account for positive scenarios with little thoughts to think through what happens if the deal goes south. All these need to be carefully laid out to prevent public outcry and calls for government intervention when deals don't work out as initially contemplated.
Thank you so much, Mr. Badejo. Thank you so much. Mr. Badejo, I have a question for you in relation to consolidations. Do you consider consolidation means by which SMEs can minimize their exposure to business risk, and can this lead to economic recovery?
Very important question. And I believe there are 2 points you've raised, and I'll again try to address each one separately. On the first point, yes, SMEs can mitigate business risks via consolidation. I see this as part of the defensive M&A strategy, as I mentioned earlier. In today's environment, SMEs locally are faced with a lot of risks and challenges, starting with health and safety risks. COVID-19 and safeguarding employees remain paramount. Competitive pressure, funding challenges, access to customers, securing raw materials, distribution both in state and out of state, and other risks unique to operating in our environment with significant infrastructure deficit and access to largely unskilled workforce. Now, companies can reduce these risks through consolidation and forming strategic partnerships. For example, at UAC, our real estate subsidiary provides facility management services largely to residential estates. And as you all know, supplying power to homes is a major component of that service, which carries risks with the need for significant investments in generators and other power-related equipment. Now, rather than continue to operate alone, the company is in the process of forming a strategic partnership or strategic alliance, with one of the leading power and energy management companies in Nigeria. Such a deal will minimize our capital requirement to fund growth, as well as provide faster access for our new partners, faster access to our new partners' technical know-how and expertise. Our new partner will also benefit from our presence in over 25 residential estates, thus accelerating their access to new customers. In similar form, on the manufacturing side, as multiple of our manufacturing businesses, grapple with access to raw materials, rising raw material costs as a result of FX devaluation. There's a recurring theme, CBN-led, that is leading into backward integration. And as an entity, you cannot do everything yourself. You cannot be the whole value chain, even though it suggests Nigeria you should be. But seeking partners with capital and technical know-how could help mitigate execution risk for backward integration. So I do think SMEs will continue to look around to sniff out opportunities to partner, whether it be with direct competitors, other SMEs that offer complementary products or services, or other players along their value chain that would help minimize their risk. Now, on the second part of your question, whether consolidation can lead to economic recovery, I do think the answer is more complicated because there are several factors that remain requisite for economic recovery in Nigeria, and I won't go into the detail. But consolidation on its own doesn't get the job done. Where I do believe consolidation could help or even have a positive knock-on effect on the economy is linked to M&A's ability to create long-term valuable companies when transactions make strategic sense. I think there's a BCG report that looked at 3,500 deals globally and confirmed that deals during downturns tend to create significantly more value on average than deals initiated during boom times. And why is that? Downturns have a way of causing business owners to focus on the important things, which presumably leads to efforts to cooperate and engage with their peers in similar sectors. And these same sector deals are much more likely to deliver short and long-term value for the enlarged entity, illustrating the importance of operational and cost synergies as sources of value creation. Also, during downturns, valuation gaps tend to narrow. The M&A targets are more likely to consider a fair price and push for lofty valuations. This in turn ensures that the buyer does not overpay, thus reducing chances of long-term value destruction. So in summary, if two or more companies consolidate and in the process create stronger, larger entities, the overall effect is positive for economic recovery, as Nigeria needs better run corporates that can produce goods and or services more efficiently. And these merged and enlarged entities are more often than not likely to attract capital, which in turn leads to other investments, new jobs, and growth. All good for the economy. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Quite enlightening. I have a personal question. It's not personal, but we like more information about you. As an investment director at UAC, what are the key success stories and factors that has helped UAC remain economically relevant? If you'd like to share with us.
Sure, glad to. And for those in the audience that may not be familiar with UAC of Nigeria PLC, UAC today is a holding company that owns businesses with some of Nigeria's strongest brands and widest distribution. Our subsidiary companies are largely consumer facing and I believe positioned to benefit from Nigeria's demographics. And I think UAC has successfully leveraged M&A as a key strategic tool and acquired companies with leading brands or formed strategic partnerships with global players. For example, our most profitable subsidiary, which some of you may know, CAP, Chemical and Allied Products Company, was acquired in 1992. CAP was a former subsidiary of Imperial Chemical International, British Chemical Company, which was itself acquired by AkzoNobel. And that association with AkzoNobel allowed us to become a technology licensee to manufacture Dulux paint, which is widely considered to be the leading premium paint brand in Nigeria. We have also had successes in forming strategic partnerships with foreign players across our logistics, packaged food, and quick service restaurant subsidiaries. And these have largely, again, these were more offensive-driven M&A deals. On the defensive side, following a strategic review of our subsidiaries, we announced plans to exit the real estate sector, given the different cash flow profile and capital needs of our real estate subsidiary relative to our other consumer-facing companies in our portfolio. This in turn led to the recently announced deal where Custodian Investment PLC agreed to acquire 51% stake in UPDC from UAC. All of this done during this pandemic. The deal provides an immediate real estate platform for Custodian and allows UAC to reduce its position in the real estate sector in order to focus on our core consumer-facing subsidiaries, a win for both parties. So going forward, we plan to continue to remain economically relevant by continuing to build some of Nigeria's most valuable and sustainable businesses. And for us, the pandemic is over. We are now on offense. And my role specifically, as you mentioned, as an investment director, is focused on working with our subsidiaries and our associate companies to ensure capital is allocated in the most efficient manner. We want to invest and grow our businesses organically, as well as leverage M&A, mergers and acquisition, as a means to accelerate our growth. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for sharing the UAC world with us. Thank you so much. I'm tempted to take the final question. And the question is for either Mr. Badejo or Chief Chris, if he's still there. So at what point should a company consider a merger? Mr. Badejo, do you want to assist us with that question? At what point should a company consider a merger?
Sure, happy to give it a shot. So, look, as I think I mentioned, the best companies are constantly considering mergers and acquisitions. I don't believe, mergers should only be about being reactionary, but companies should be proactive in pursuing M&A. Right now, I have multiple targets that I'm considering, and we are constantly engaging with potential partners and these targets because, again, for us, M&A is a key tool for growth. Just as we are looking at opportunities to invest capex for new factories, launch new brands, new products, M&A is a strategic tool that we leverage in terms of pursuing opportunities. So I don't think there is necessarily a particular point. If you're, I would encourage companies to establish some sort of to establish M&A protocols, internal M&A actions in using M&A as a tool to growth. And then once you have established a clear understanding with a potential party, you have had multiple engagements to ensure that your values are aligned, and perhaps some sort of external factors makes the thesis stronger, you should definitely consider and pursue the M&A. But in summary, there's no particular point. I think it's an active thing, as it is a really good tool for growth and value creation.
Thank you so much.